Welcome back, everyone, to Pandemonium_news. And why we said the underscore, I don't know. It's probably because we couldn't get Pandemonium as a name by default. Welcome back, though, as I'm just Cap and joined by Maximus. We're going to take a little bit of time here now that 2024 has finished off the grand finals, closing out, and of course, our new South Korean overlords of D+ taking the trophy. We're going to take a look back here on the year and talk about a couple of different topics that really stood out to us. And off the bat here, Max, we have to go all the way back towards the beginning of the year and take a look at a couple of teams in particular, Reject and Alpha 7.
Yeah, for me, Reject and Alpha 7 painted the first half of PUBG Mobile Esports in such a good light because start of the year, you never really know what to expect of a lot of the teams, but the rivalry we had, Jason, going back in PMGO in particular, where everyone was like, oh, it's an event in Brazil, the first PMGO ever over in Brazil. Everyone was looking at Alpha 7 to win it. And then Ray G and the boys of Reject were like, no, sit down. We're taking this one home. We're taking home your trophy with the Brazilian colors in the trophy. I think that was a very cool upset story. But after that, they go in PMWC Reject looking to win the whole thing. And then Alpha 7 just then shut it down themselves and take the trophy. I think that rivalry that we don't see too many of in PUBG Mobile Esports, I feel like, was such a cool setup for the first half of the year that I want to see more rivalries like that because that was the peak of rivalry so far in this esport.
You've said rivalry way too many times so far.
I know it's to ride the point home.
I wonder what would happen if Reject made it into PMGC and we had Alpha 7 there as well, if they would have had a rivalry or not. Or, I mean, obviously, probably D+ probably still would have won. And then RCB probably would have performed as well. But, you know, obviously, to keep back on this topic, thinking back towards the beginning of the year as well, just think how bad it must have been for Alpha 7 to finally have an event in Brazil, to win your first global event, and to lose to a team that no one expected out there. It was extremely disheartening for them, but I think it gave them a drive to come back into PMWC, and you finally saw them break through that barrier that always, you know, the bridesmaid, never the bride, not able to break through and get themselves a trophy for themselves. But then you look at PMGC and, you know, I wonder, did that drive just disappear for them? And obviously that can be out there for discussion for a lot of other people out there. But what about Regiosio, man? He had his back-to-back MVP again. I mean, we've seen Japan play in global events before. We've seen him play in PMGC before, thinking back to like Bumblebees way back in season 0. Or is it Bluebees? It's Bluebees, not
really?
Bumblebees.
Wait, that's Transformers.
yeah. I mean, they did transform quite well in 2024, but I would never have thought Regiosio would be able to pull off back-to-back, and I'm still so sad to not see him into the grand finals to have a chance to get a back-to-back-to-back.
I'm going to blame Regnum Karabra for that. You pick up Sarah, which is a great pickup, but he could have picked up Reiji. He could have been back-to-back-to-back MVP in 3 global events on the same year for 2024, but no, they threw it, and that's why they lost by 1 point. Okay, that was a bit rough. I'm sorry, guys, but realistically, I think that Reiji, I don't know what happens locally, unfortunately, Jason. It's very weird. We don't see them qualify, but I don't know what Reiji's going to do next year, but he has to get back to global event because he can get the MVP award. He's done it already 2 times, and just qualify. It can't be that hard. It is very hard. I'm just like complaining.
Says the guy who played PMCO and I don't think I have a single elimination. But I do wonder for them, obviously, is Sari even going to stay in the team? Will Regiosio be able to have his leader back in his team to continue to play in 2025? Obviously, a lot of unknowns going out there. But as we do continue to look back on this year, I feel like Kalaris said this extremely well. It might have been you, probably Kalaris, since we always give him the credit for everything. This was the year of uncertainty for PUBG Mobile Esports, and uncertain, as we saw with the results of D+ Kia being the team to take PMGC, kind of really hammered it home and proved it to us all out there, that there were so many different teams, so many different individual players that really surprised us in this year. What were a couple ones that stood out to you, Max?
Well, I have to say, first of all, Rise of Underdogs, that was created by Kalaris, but I started Ratterboy, which, no, that's the most important one here, Jason. But
No, that's the wrong one! No, listen to that one!
Edit this out or not?
I don't know. I heard Kalaris say Ratterboy. It sounds like it came from him first. Keep going. We're good.
We're good. But no, for me, the first one I have to really look at as a step up this year has to be Voin Donkey with how they stepped up during the league stage. I think that's one of the biggest step ups I've seen in a PMGC in a long, long time, outside of maybe Vampire 2 years ago in the grand finals, because they were a team that I was not really looking at whatsoever. Like, they had maybe a good games here and there, but the way they just started to be not only just good, but hyper consistent throughout the second half of the league stage was so impressive. And not only that, they then maintain that momentum in the grand finals and got, what was it, 4th, 5th place? I don't remember the exact spot, but what an improvement from this guy. And Vex in particular with a Mini 14 was an absolute beast. So it kind of excites me to maybe we have Boyne winning an SEA trophy next year. Like, that is how good they are playing, that they could be currently the best team in SEA.
I mean, don't forget that also was a majority of the team's first time playing in a PMGC at these big international events as well, which really hammers home how well every single player stepped up. If I were to take a look at like one team that really stood out to me, I would have to give it to Twisted Mind Brazil. I'm really sad to see they didn't make it into the into PMGC league stage, because to me this was the rookie team of the year, and I think this is the team that also kind of started for me like that year of uncertainty in PUBG Mobile Esports, because we didn't really expect to see the depth of skill in some of these regions, especially like when it comes to Brazil. We know they have some really good teams, your Influence Rage, your Loops, your Team Liquid, your Alpha 7, but there was more teams still coming to rise to the ranks, and for this team to do extremely well, qualify to the main event and get into PMGO and do well, get into PMWC, their first big global event, I would say, past PMGO, to really like figure out if they can adapt on the fly, play with more of these international teams, and they prove they can handle it. If they made it into PMGC, even just the league stage, I would have given them, in my opinion, the rookie team of the year. I still kind of want to give it to them, to be fair.
To be completely, I mean, you were the first guy to call them on PMWC the rookie team of the year, right? And I have to fully agree. I think
it was Kalaris that said that.
Oh, it was Kalaris, actually. Jason, you said nothing. It was all said by Kalaris, actually. But I think they would have made it into the grand finals with what we've seen from them locally. And, of course, back in PMWC, where they had a super, super good performance. So, yeah, I'd have to agree with Twisted Minds. And then we have Incilio, that we have to bring up with the hovercrafts.
Yeah.
I think we had a meta-defining moment 2.5 years ago with the DBS being played by South Korean team of D plus Kia. And I think we had a meta-defining moment with Incilio and the hovercrafts in this tournament in the grand finals, because they just used it every time, and it was just so good. So Incilio, like, maybe they'll fizzle out into the unknown later on this year. We don't know what they're going to do, but one thing's going to remain, and that's the hovercraft, because it's crazy good.
Well, the thing is, for them, if you take away the hovercraft from PMGC, would they have made it to the grand finals? Would they have performed as well as they did? And I would say no. Look at their Miramars. I think out of like 2 days, 3 out of those 4 matches, they had 0 points. So for them, they need to kind of continue to improve, obviously, a lot into next year. But the last region I want to bring up when it comes to the underdogs is South Korea, man. Not only D plus playing well, not only DRX playing well, but also seeing Mir and Sejong. Like, I know they didn't really advance well through survival stage and last chance. Obviously, what they were doing to Senate Center really early worked out well for them, and then teams caught up to that. But for them to kind of just come in out of nowhere with no international experience and be able to take it to the likes of the best teams in the group of death as well that we coined it, that was amazing to see.
Yeah, I'm happy we saw South Korea do so well, but I feel like the issue we didn't see Mir and Sejong in particular qualify is because we never seen those players really play globally before, and we actually don't see too many South Korean players outside of D plus K really play outside of their region. So I think that this is great to see some of them do well, and in D plus K, of course, winning the whole thing, and maybe some faltering, because it sets up really good expectations for next year's. Like, okay, these players that have played PMGC now, going back home, they can feed that kind of knowledge to the rest of their teammates, or like maybe the rest of the lobby, and they're going to be able to improve and step up quite heavily gameplay wise. So yeah, I think that here we might not see only D plus Kia and somewhat DRX do well next year. Maybe other South Korean teams will step up to not only qualify to global tournaments, but also maybe win the whole thing, just like D plus.
And we're going to dive a lot deeper into this in actually another video, so make sure you guys hit the follow button to check that out. You can see it over, I'm assuming this is just mostly me on YouTube, so it's going to be a long form video. But as our last topic here, I mean, you can't end out the year of a 2024 retrospective without talking about the last event of the year, PMGC Grand Finals, man. That was wild. Absolutely wild. You know, we don't need to touch on the last match just yet. Let's start a little bit earlier. Enigma Galaxy and their roster changes, Max. I thought Twisted Minds, not the Brazil team, the Twisted Minds team with Coops, would have performed better than the Enigma Galaxy roster, but I was completely flabbergasted, as you're hearing right now, that I was completely wrong.
I agree. I did not expect this kind of result, because this team being put together before the full season of PMSL EMEA, I was like, I don't know, man. It seemed like there's too many different kind of elements in this team that I don't expect to merge well together. And I was completely wrong on that front. They're like the approach of the game was very similar to what they were doing in the past. Like the eye-gelling style, I was talking to Pecco, the eye-gelling style has not changed with Rauf. But they just said, no, this team just works perfectly with the playstyle we had initially in mind. And now it's enabled to its full potential. And it really was highlighted in the grand finals. So yeah, Narvalo, Snowix, Redox, Ralph, they look like a good team. And I did talk actually to Pecco and some of the players after the grand finals, Jason. And I asked them, please, are you guys sticking together next year?
No.
And they said yes. They said, no, we're done. We're all retiring. No, they're actually sticking together next year. And you know what? I am hyped to see them maybe win a trophy because after that kind of experience in the grand finals, you know they're going to be hungry to go the entire way.
I mean, I'm going to say this, though. Like, realistically, do we think any of the teams that are at the top right now will still be at the top next year? Or at the end of next year? Who knows? Honestly, I would like to see some sort of stability, you know, back to that, the time of Nova with the back-to-back PMGC wins. But I don't know. I feel like almost anyone can win at this point, or any region can win at this point.
It's going to be the year of uncertainty, chapter 2.
Volume 2. Yeah. Well, let's talk about, of course, what everyone saw. The last match of the grand finals of PMGC. I will say this now. You will never have a better final than that one in 2024. Like, it could be, you know, 2030 and you're still not going to be able to beat that. An island finish, first, like step 1, insane. But I think step 2 to that, which made it so crazy, was that Regnum Karya didn't play a standard match. They knew what they had to do to win. And to see a team kind of see that situation and take control of that situation where we see it never happen, you know, the amount of times we talk about teams, you know, if you want to qualify for X, Y, or Z, you might have to hot drop. You might have to get extra aggressive or something like that. And they play a very standard match. To see Regnum Karya realize it and actually execute it was a thing of beauty.
Well, I do want to say, before we go a little bit deeper on this topic here, Jason, can we, before anything else, agree that this was the best game of PUBG Mobile Esports as a whole? Can we agree on
Castle finish? Vikendi?
Okay, you kind of hitting
That's your
where,
kryptonite.
okay, you kind of got me there. No, but,
no, definitely this was the best match
game
ever.
Like, because you got like an insane circle finish, you got all the storylines kind of converging, all the 3 teams competing for the first place, by the way, of Nigma Galaxy, Regnum Karabra, and D plus Kia get to the island in some way, shape, or form. Of course, we know that Regnum Karabra didn't make it as a full team, but that's a different topic.
Bro,
but,
them driving over on the boat and being shot out one by one, I was just like, oh my God.
Guild were playing. They had an impact at the end. There was Guild and Influence Rage, but I do want to go back then to your point you were bringing up about Regnum Karabra, which is they know because of the Impala drop of D plus Kia, we're not going to get the win. There's no way in hell we win this game, and we know we need to get big points if we want to get first place. Our only realistic option is to just wipe the entire western side, wipe the entire coast of every single team, and then transition. And if we can survive, great. If we can't, we got to hope the eliminations we got is going to be enough, as we saw that was not the case. But they were down to 2 points, like 1 point to get to the tiebreaker. And of course, after that, they lose the tiebreaker. So they wanted 2 points. But the setup of storylines is madness. I again, best game of PUBG Mobile Esports ever, in my opinion. And I'm going to have another video then actually breaking down and analyzing the match itself, because it deserves its own video. There's just too much to really go into here.
You had like 3 kind of different, I don't want to say different play styles. I think it was more of 2 different play styles, but like 3 teams playing that completely different. You had Regnum Karya having a sweep to pick up eliminations. You had Nigma Galaxy sitting on the southern island just chilling and waiting. Then they didn't they weren't proactive. They didn't make a play to like, okay, we know it's going to finish on the northern island. We have to move. They sat back too long. And then you had D plus almost actually losing technically because they were being too passive on the island as well. Not looking for those eliminations, not looking to deny people getting in, because they knew like we just have to kind of play safe here. We're realistically going to win this match. It was insane, absolutely insane. And if you weren't in the crowd, and if you didn't hear the crowd when that zone popped up on that island, I've never heard a crowd be so loud before.
Yeah, I've never seen a crowd be loud for a circle shift. That was like, oh my God, what's happening? But I do wonder, actually, this is an interesting question for D+. When you see the elimination feed light up, and it's always the same kind of like player number.
It's him.
Up, like, is it? Is that Regnum Karya? I hope not, because if it is, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
That it sets up a bit of an issue for them.
That's actually a very good point. I would actually love to have asked them that. Like, did they notice one team was getting these eliminations, and did they suspect that it could be RCB?
That would be a good question for an interview. If we can actually get that question
Barty,
sent to them,
get on it.
We need it.
Man.
That would be a sick one to know, yeah.
Honestly, I think this year has been very cool. As some final thoughts, right? Thinking back, because we covered CSA mostly. You know, you had Falcons. I had 4MV as like these teams are going to be insane when we see them get to global events, and we were completely shattered. See them underperform at PMWC, underperform at PMGC. to see like AOR, who became Incilio, be one of the teams to massively represent CSA was insane. All these events as well. Seeing EMEA dominate the league stage of PMGC, first place every single group. You can be such a fan of your own region and have really high expectations for those teams, but you never know what these other regions are going to bring. And that's kind of what I love about this, that you just really don't know who's going to come out big in that event. And, you know, I'm looking forward to Uzbekistan, PMGO next year.
Yeah, there's so much to be looking forward to. I think that this year has been one of the most exciting years for me in this esports. There's only one thing that was really missing, and I don't know if you would agree or not, Jason, but it's the lack of real competition from the PEL teams on the global stage.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the one story now. I was like, we didn't really have that too much. It didn't really result in too much happening and coming out from that region. But if there was that too, I'd say that was the best region, the best year, by far in PUBG Esports.
I don't think those PEL teams are going to care as they're laughing at their 700K prize pools every season that they have, man. I think more than happy about that one. But yeah, it's a very good point. PEL definitely lackluster the entire, not just PMGC, because even thinking back to PMWC, we had some higher expectations and definitely some slow starts didn't work out for him. But Max, any final words for you, man? I can't believe, you know, we're another year deep into PUBG Mobile.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time at the end of the year, I'm like, oh wow, PMGC's already done. Like, what now? 2 months of nothing, and then we're back in another year of esports. It's going to be fun. But no, I'm very excited. Again, I want to see the storylines hopefully evolve in a positive fashion for all the newcomer teams we kind of highlighted throughout the year. And I mean, you got so many possibly meta changing items, and maybe the Kenny coming back to esports next year. But that is also going to be its own video. So I'm excited to see what's going to go down next year. It's going to be cool.
Rondo, maybe?
It's going to be added in March. Could we get it for PMWC? That would be sick. I'm not sure though. We'll see. Maybe. Hopefully.
I kind of hope so, to be honest. Just imagine we have like Rondo, Sandhawk, Vikendi, Erangel, Miramar. Maybe take out Sandhawk.
Yes, I would like that. That would be cool. Rotate. Give me that.
A horse on Sandhawk.
Okay, I'm not sure about the horses.
Not sure about
everything else, maybe horses. Not sure.
Well, you know what? That's going to round out our like quick 2024 retrospective on the year of PUBG Mobile Esports. Make sure you guys hit the follow button here. Make sure you check us out on Instagram, on TikTok. You see all the little names down below here on us. But then also a big shout out to all of you who have been watching us throughout the year as well. It's been kind of a new thing for Max and I, creating content together under the name of Pandemonium_News. We've enjoyed it. Had a headache a couple of times when we have to do content and we have watch parties, but you know what? In the end, it worked out. We appreciate all the support we've gotten from you guys. But that's going to do it. We'll see you guys next time for some more PUBG Mobile action here at Pandemonium News.